There is no legitimate electoral path to victory for Kamala Harris right now. And I say right now. That doesn't mean Trump is going to win. It means as of today, with the failure of the Kamala campaign, the collapse in the polls and the betting odds, the arguments made by Trump supporters, by Donald Trump, Trump wins on the merits. I think it's fair to say. We've got former Democrats now going on TV advocating for Kamala Harris. We've got the LA Times declining to endorse even though they've backed Democrats the whole way. The Teamsters, the Firefighters Union, not even Mitt Romney will endorse this woman. Now, I say legitimate electoral path because there's always a shadow campaign. And so there is let's call it a procedural path to victory using ground game, ballot harvesting, etc. So we don't actually know what's going to happen because I don't know that the merits of the argument matter in an election anymore. But that being said, Trump supporters may swamp the vote to a degree that Kamala just can't win. And I'll add this too. Donald Trump probably has the most iconic presidential campaign in history. At least one of the most iconic. You have the photo of Trump on his knees with blood dripping from his face, then rising up and raising his fist. You have the photo of Donald Trump shaking his hand with RFK Jr. with explosions behind him. And the photo of Donald Trump in a McDonald's apron smiling and handing out French fries. Talk about an iconic presidential campaign. Could you imagine if 100 years from now, the teachers in schools are like, pull up your virtual implant devices and whatever it is they're using at the time. And they're like, despite all of this historic iconography, Donald Trump lost. It would be shocking. But of course, many of you may have heard, because this story is actually from the other day, the LA Times is declining to endorse Kamala Harris despite backing Democrats since 2008. The Firefighters Union is declining to endorse a presidential candidate despite endorsing Biden in 2020. Teamsters Union is declining to endorse Kamala Harris. The Uncommitted movement, which is a pro-Palestinian thing, won't endorse Harris either. They don't want to endorse anybody. And then, heavens me, Mitt Romney, not even he will endorse Kamala Harris. Not that anyone expected that we cared what Mitt Romney had to say. But come on, she's got Liz Cheney. This is the big news. The LA Times, these Democrat institutions and these unions are saying outright, we're not going to do it. And now we have this viral video from a CNBC interview where Bill Ackman, a lifelong Democrat, has ripped Kamala Harris for the disastrous Afghan withdrawal, laying out exactly why he will not vote for Kamala Harris. And he will be, I believe he says he will be supporting Donald Trump. But we will play this, and there's a lot here. The first thing I'm going to do is start with the LA Times refusal to endorse Kamala Harris. So smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast, and become a member at timcast.com. Let's grab this article here. The LA Times will not be endorsing a candidate for the 2024 election after endorsing a Democratic presidential candidate in every election since 2008. According to a report from Semaphore, the owner of the LA Times has blocked the outlet from endorsing a candidate this year. The LA Times editorial board published its endorsements for the 2024 cycle last week. However, an endorsement for president was not part of it. Interesting. The editorial board was reportedly preparing to endorse a Democrat for the presidency this time around for the election as well. However, the executive editor for the paper informed staff that the paper would not do so for 24, according to Semaphore. The owner of the LA Times is Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, who gained his wealth in the healthcare industry. The LA Times endorsement page did not explain the reason by not endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris, which would have been the likely outcome had the outlet come to endorse a candidate. The editorial board endorses selectively, choosing the most consequential races in which to make recommendations. The editorial board were at the time. And as we know, my friends, refusing to endorse is effectively an endorsement for Donald Trump. When the Teamsters announced that they would refuse to endorse, I love this. Donald Trump goes, oh, wow, it's a great honor. I mean, the Teamsters, they're great. He was acting as though the Teamsters saying we don't endorse was the same thing as them saying we endorse Donald Trump. Amazing. They're going to write. We do not comment on internal discussions or decisions about editorials or endorsements. A spokesman for the LA Times told Semaphore. Soon-Shiong has overruled decisions from the editorial board before, shooting down an effort to endorse Elizabeth Warren in the 2020 primacy as the example given by Semaphore. The paper later endorsed Joe Biden. The LA Times declined to endorse presidential candidates between the mid-1970s until 2008, when the outlet endorsed Barack Obama. The outlet has endorsed Democrats for the presidency since then. Prior to the 1970s, the outlet reliably endorsed Republicans since the founding of the paper since 1881. And here we are, my friends, but you need only hear it from the words of a lifelong Democrat, Billionaire, who is now, I believe he's backing Trump, but I'll be careful. Let's see what he has to say.
And of course, the withdrawal from Afghanistan, which I think really looked like a total abandonment of our sort of partner in the region. And by the way, catastrophic consequences for, millions of Afghani women and the people, sort of generally. If you look at what among the, a friend of mine was, helping to get, high school robotic girls out of, who are in this robotics contest out of Afghanistan. All these young women who lost opportunity. So I think it was one of the more tragic moments for the country.
He is, and he is explicitly endorsing. He has endorsed Donald Trump. He will be voting for Trump.
But I look at things like, foreign policy decisions, like allowing Iran to start selling oil again, right? So they kind of rebuilt their balance sheet. They have $200 billion. That's what enabled the funding of, Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah, right? And then our lack of response to U.S. forces and U.S. assets being attacked by the Houthis. The Houthis, by the way, were on the terrorist list. They were taken off by the Biden administration, apparently so that we could provide support to the Yemeni people. And then when they started attacking U.S. assets, we did nothing. Only recently have we been more aggressive in responding to them. So I think, it's a bit like, the broken windows thing in a city, right? Terrorists kind of test you out. And if you don't respond aggressively. The only thing they respect is power. And I think the result is, Putin rolls into Ukraine. Right. And I think, a major hot war in Europe, I thought I would never see this in my lifetime.
And he did. He did. So this guy, a lifelong Democrat who had been fairly woke until recent, has now come out. It's a 30-minute long interview where he basically outlines the failures of the Biden-Harris administration and why he is backing Donald Trump. So there we see it. The LA Times, they won't say why. We also have this from NBC, this story from October 3rd. Firefighters union declines to endorse a presidential candidate as a blow. The decision is a blow to Democrats since the IAFF endorsed Biden in 2020. The International Association of Firefighters announced on Thursday it would not be endorsing a candidate for president this year. The news is a particular blow to Vice President Kamala Harris since the union endorsed Biden in 2020. In a statement, Edward A. Kelly, the union's president, said the group's executive board voted on Thursday by 1.2% not to endorse, which basically means we hereby endorse Donald Trump. That's all that matters, right? He added that the board determined that we are better able to advocate for our members and make progress on the issues that matter to them if we as a union are standing shoulder to shoulder. This decision, which we took very seriously, is the best way to preserve and strengthen our unity. The union represents over 350,000 firefighters, emergency medical workers, and rescue workers throughout the U.S. and Canada. Both presidential campaigns have made personal appeals to the union's members at a convention in Boston in August, with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio speaking at the event. Harris also addressed union members during a separate IAFF legislative conference in Washington, D.C. in March before Biden dropped out of the race. Although the union came out quickly in backing Biden in 2020, 4 years earlier, the IAFF also chose not to get involved in the presidential race. In 2019, Trump, then president, blasted the union's leadership, writing in a tweet, "The dues-sucking firefighters' leadership will always support Democrats, even though the membership wants me. Some things never change." And, I can only say this. I have not heard good things from firefighters about the IAFF, but not a firefighter, so what do I know? In another tweet the same day, he touted the support union members, writing, "I'll never get the support of dues-crazy union leadership. Those people who rip off their membership with ridiculously high dues, medical and other expenses, while being paid a fortune. But the members love Trump. They look at our record, economy, tax and regulation cuts, military, etc., win." I would agree with that. Based on my experience with what I've heard from firefighters, they feel, not all of them, but I spoke with several who feel that union leadership, they enrich themselves off the back of the firefighters who are taking the risks. I'm also not sure if this is true because I'm not a firefighter or anything, but isn't it that the union leadership, they're not even firefighters? So I despise those institutions. I love collective bargaining. I love the idea of unionizing, but I do not love external organizations taking money from people, giving them nothing, and not even understanding the job itself. Now, as you know, there was big news. This is 2 months ago. The Teamsters Union, actually, this is a month ago, declining to endorse anyone for president. Surprise, surprise, my friends. We knew this, right? The story's fairly old, but this is not the only union. UAW, United Auto Workers, are also furious with the Biden-Harris administration because of their electric vehicle mandates, which they view as destroying their industry. Now, this one's particularly funny. The Uncommitted national movement says Harris' campaign failed to meet deadline with Palestinians. The Israel-Palestine issue is one of the major components that will crush and sink the Democrats. So the Uncommitted movement was never going to endorse anybody. I mean, come on. Do we really expect the anti-Israel, pro-Palestine group to endorse a Democrat or Republican? They have no choice but to be, at least to a certain degree, pro-Israel. And the reason is majority of people in this country are pro-Israel. I know there are a lot of people who hate Israel, but that's the reality. Look at the polls. And I think it's around 63% or something like this. So the people who don't like Israel are critical of it. You got a long way to go. But so long as either candidate sees we will gain more votes by supporting Israel, of course, that's what they're going to do. So the Uncommitted movement doesn't necessarily represent in their failure to endorse a kind of collapse for Kamala Harris. I believe that the Uncommitted movement's refusal to endorse shows that the Democrats have a problem. Elements of the left are anti-Israel and should be endorsing and voting for Democrats, but they're not going to because, well, they have a large voting bloc that doesn't like Israel, and they want the Democrats to abandon Israel. Donald Trump has got a clear path. The Republican Party, he gets to say, hey, I'm pro-Israel, and he's the most pro-Israel president who's ever been, and he's going to scoop up all of those votes. Democrats are going to sacrifice a 2-to-1 margin. They're going to, if it's 63% that support Israel and Democrats sacrifice that group for the far left, they lose. So what are they going to do? They're going to support Israel while talking out of both sides of their mouths, and they go to their rallies or they're at the DNC and they're like, Israel must be defended, it's right to defend themselves, but we are also sad about Palestinians and we care about Palestinians. You can't have it both ways. I'm sorry. I'm not saying there's not nuance in the issue. I'm saying that, unfortunately for you Democrats, rock in a hard place. The Republicans are mostly aligned. Not every Republican likes Israel or wants to fund Israel, but they're not so fervent on the issue. So you're going to have a lot of people who are like, well, I don't want to fund Israel, but it's not the biggest issue to me, I guess. Ukraine's getting more money right now. Let's focus on that and pull that money back. But the Democrats, you've got leftists who are like, I won't vote for you. And Democrats could lose, I don't know, a couple percentage points if they lose the progressive left. Kamala Harris is sinking among everybody, even uniparty rhinos like Mitt Romney. So here we are. Interactive polls with The Economist forecast. Trump's chance of winning is 56% to Harris's 44%. The prediction is that Trump will have 278 electoral votes. Swing states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona will go Trump. North Carolina will go Trump. Michigan and Nevada will go Harris. Polymarket betting odds currently has Trump at 64% in favor of Trump winning. I will stress that's not a forecast. That is 64% of people are favoring Trump to win. The difference here is these people may think Trump's got a 1-point edge, so they bet on Trump, pushing his odds to 64%. But the polls, he might not even win the popular vote. We don't know for sure. Now, here's the forecast model. With 100 simulated elections, Donald Trump wins 56 out of 100. Truly incredible. Now, this was going back to October 15th, but a week ago, they had a similar result with 270. I'm sorry, it was inverted. At the time, they were looking at a Kamala Harris edge to win, with Harris at 54%, but she has been collapsing. Can't say that I'm surprised. Her interviews are awful. She doesn't know what she's talking about half the time. And what are we looking at? Trump winning every single battleground in aggregate. Now, polls, I like the betting odds, but we'll break this down. I like betting odds because it means people are putting their money up. So that is to say, it's the wisdom of the crowd. It is the will of the people. Not so much the will, but the expectation. They think Trump is going to win. In fact, there is a plurality on the Republicans sweeping the entire election. Well, here we have in the aggregate polling, Trump is ahead in every single state. Arizona, 1.8. Nevada, 0.9. Wisconsin, 0.4. Michigan, 1.2. Pennsylvania, 0.8. North Carolina, 0.4. Georgia, 2.5. Trump's going to win them all. Understand, my friends, in 2020, Joe Biden had a 4 to 7 point polling bias. So while Joe Biden still did win these states, however he did, whatever your opinion is, they said in the polls that he was up between 4 to 7 points in each battleground state, and he wasn't. He was still ahead. I think in the at the national level, let's pull up Trump v. Harris. Kamala Harris has 1.1 lead. However, Joe Biden in 2020 had an 8-point lead. And in 2016 and in 2020, the polls had a pro-Democrat bias of 3 to 5 points. That means Kamala Harris needs at least a 3-point advantage if she's going to make an argument for a tie. She needs a 5-point advantage if she wants to make an argument that she is going to win. And right now, it's an advantage of 1.1. That being said, the national polling is worthless. Morning Consult, Harris +4, Rasmussen, Trump +1. Atlas, Trump +3. But Reuters, Harris +3. It's wild and all over the place. So you know what? I don't care. But let's take a look at the aggregate for each individual battleground state. The reason why I think this is more revealing, my friends, well, in aggregate, Trump is winning every single one. Now, we can get granular and go to Arizona and say, well, show me the polls for Arizona. They're all showing a Trump swing, bigly. It's only the Wall Street Journal from a poll ending October 8th that has Harris up 2. Once that's down, Trump's aggregate polling is going to jump to 2 or 3, and that's coming soon. When you aggregate these polls, then line them all up against each other, considering the bias, not even considering the bias, Trump's winning. If the polls resolve with 0 bias, Trump wins every single battleground state. If we assume the same bias exists on the low end, 4 points, Trump sweeps every single state bigly. I don't see how Kamala wins at this point. And I mean that on the merits. Of course, there could be legal action and weird ballot harvesting initiatives. Sure. But considering the interviews she's doing, considering the loss of institutional support, I don't see it. And that's why the Bill Ackman interview is so important. Kamala needs big name billionaire donors to be able to pull this off. Axios has a report out this morning that Kamala's dumped about $1 billion in ads, desperately trying to win, and it don't work. I love this. Democrats actually have internal strategy documents saying that when I think this is like a PAC or something, when they take out ads criticizing Donald Trump and showing him say stuff, it helps him. I love it. Dude, they play a video where Trump's like, we're going to close the border and we're going to use their military and go after these illegal immigrants. They're like, look, Trump's a dictator. And people go, I kind of want him to do that. That's kind of wild, right? They said in their internals that when they run ads against Trump, showing Trump speak, it often helps him more than hurts him. It's incredible. Well, how do you win if you can't even show you show Trump and you're like, look how bad he is. And people are like, I kind of like it. And then you go, but Trump's a fascist. And they're like, okay. What's that going to do to anybody? What's that going to do for anybody? Donald Trump says secure the border, no wars, better jobs, etc. And they can try and play this game all they want, but it's not working. This is what's wild. Democrats have heavily banked on policy ideas that are not popular. The one thing they got going for them is J.D. Vance says $5,000 child tax credit, and Kamala goes $6,000. And now they're claiming the child tax credit is Kamala Harris's policy position. Oh, please. She gets credit for that one. Well, here we are, my friends. In Pennsylvania, where it matters most, Donald Trump has the advantage, 0.8. But you know what? Let's skip the aggregation and go by time. October 13th poll, Trump's up 3. October 17th poll, Trump is up 3. October 19th poll, Trump is up 3. That's Trafalgar, Atlas, and Rasmussen. Now, October 10th poll, New York Times has Harris up 3. AM Greatness, TIPP has Trump up 1. The Hill and Emerson to October 8th has Trump up 1. Insider Advantage has Trump up 2. I think it's fair to say that Trump currently, as of right now, has the lead in Pennsylvania. Only one thing matters. Everybody's got to go out, vote. I believe registration officially ended, so you need to go vote. You need to tell your friends to go vote. You need to say, everybody, we're going to go vote. If you run a business, you must let your employees go vote. In fact, I tell everybody here, make sure you guys go vote. Voting is more important. We can come back and get the work done. We can pick up the slack. But for now, today is the day. In West Virginia, they just launched early voting. So everybody out here, you got to go vote. Donald Trump needs every single vote, no matter where you are. If you're in California and you're a Republican, you got to vote. You got to vote Trump. Because there's about 10 million Republicans in California. And many of them are going to say, what's the point of voting? We're not going to win anyway. And then the Democrats go, see, we win the popular vote. There's an argument that if the national popular vote becomes a thing, Republicans in blue states are more likely to vote, thus shifting the popular vote towards the Republican. But with California just being solid blue and New York, Republicans don't bother. This time, you must go vote. It doesn't matter. Trump needs to win the Electoral College and the popular vote. And I just want to tell you guys one thing. One last thing on this one. Could you imagine the memes, the videos of the meltdown that many of these fringe Democrats will have if Trump wins the popular vote and the Electoral College? They will scream, how is it possible? The cognitive dissonance in their brains will erupt. Their eyes will turn white and they'll scream like banshees. Donald Trump losing the popular vote but winning is their narrative. They're like, see, the country doesn't want Trump. It's this stupid Electoral College system. Imagine if Trump wins the popular vote and the Electoral College. They have nothing to say. Now we go to them and say, you are losers. You have bad ideas. We win. And more importantly, industry must respond. Beer companies, phone companies, movie companies are going to say the majority is with Trump and we will respond in kind. You must go vote. I don't care what state you're in. If you're in a deep blue state, you need to go vote. Please do it. Got to get that fire inside. You know what I mean? I'll wrap it up there. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Leave a good review on Apple Podcasts or any other podcast platform. 5 stars, my friends. Thanks for hanging out. And we will be back later with another segment on this channel. We'll see you all then.